Resentments usually cue the instincts of emotional security and social instinct because they're relational. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? This is Beth Wee in the Koinonia Kitchen, and we're looking at step 4. We're into the part where we're going to do some writing on resentments, and I want you to think about the word. To do again, sent, to feel. A resentment is just something that you keep feeling years after it happened. Sometimes resentments are for a spouse, a partner, or a lover. And then the sex instinct is probably prompted as well as emotional security and social instinct. Remember, these instincts are needs to survive. It is only when out of balance that they cause problems. Without self-centered thinking, the instincts can return to the place for which the higher power created them, to create happy and usefully whole lives. So you have your composition book, hopefully, and you're ready to start doing some work. If you open that composition book up and look at 2 pages with the spiral in the middle, we're going to use all of those 2 pages together. And when you open on the left-hand side, there's a thin little margin, and that's going to be just where you write the name of the person you resent. You can mark that right there. Just write name at the top of that little column. Now the next part of the page is going to be split into 2 columns. You can do that by folding the page or by drawing a line, whichever makes you happy. But you want to split it into 2. And at the top of the first of the 2 columns, write the reason. And that means the reason you have the resentment. I'm going to give you a little trick. Try to keep every reason for resentment to 7 words or less. Why? Because this is not the part where you talk about the resentment. This is the part where you look for your part in the resentment. The third column, now you have name, you have reason, and the third little column will say instincts. What instincts are being cued here? Are you with me so far? Now you'll have a spiral in the middle, and once again you'll have that little margin. And on the first 4 lines, I want you to write on the first line in that margin an S. Then drop down a line and write a D. And then drop down a line and write SS. And then drop down a line and write F. Why those letters? They mean something. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous asks us to look for our part in each resentment. So the first S stands for where was I selfish? S, where was I selfish? The D, where was I dishonest? Where was I dishonest? The SS, where was I self-seeking? What was I trying to get out of this? Where was I self-seeking? And the F, where was I frightened? Was there any fear involved here? Now that little margin will leave a place next to it where you have a long page, and you're going to divide it again into 2 columns. You can fold the page to create your columns, or you can draw a line down, right down from the center. The first column of the 2 new columns you made is going to be left blank because that's where you're going to fill in your words. The next column, I'd like you to write at the top of that column, character defects. Any defects that you see popping up when you do that. Now your book is open wide and you're ready to do your first name. I'll give you an example. When I was a child, there was a woman who lived down the street from me, and her name was Susan Murray. And Susan Murray had a pool in her backyard, and we did not. And I would write Susan Murray's name because I resented that. So the name Susan, and the reason I was resentful, 7 words or less. She had a pool and I didn't. 7 words. She had a pool and I didn't. All right, that's my second column. In my third column, I'm going to look at what instincts were kicked up there. Well, surely it was a social instinct because I was debating whether I should be her friend or not because I didn't like that she had a pool and I didn't. So I was going to cut her off my short list of friends at the age of 7. And what else? How about some financial insecurity? I wanted something. I was envious. I wanted something she had that my family couldn't afford. So I'm going to write those 2 things. And what about emotional security? How did I feel whenever I was around her? I felt less than because she had more stuff. What a horrible little lie to tell myself at that early age. But that's when some of my bigger problems later in life started. I thought I was less than because she had more stuff. Do you see how this is already showing me what's happening? When I go to the next column, I might need a little help. How was I selfish? Well, I wanted what she had. That's the selfishness. But there's a lot of things that can be selfish. An inability to see someone's point of view, wanting things to go your ways, expecting special treatment, or depending on others to meet your needs. These are all selfish ways. Thinking other people are jealous of you or the need to be the best. These are all places where selfishness can have its way with you. When I had to look at the dishonesty, I had to see that I felt inferior. I felt an inferiority that wasn't true. She was not better than me. That was dishonest. There was something dishonest going on in my head and my heart. Dishonesty can play out in many other ways. Expecting others to be what they're not, demanding perfection, being unclear about your motives so you manipulate people, or unwilling to admit that you did the same thing or that you're just like that, or blaming others for consequences of your actions. These are all different ways that dishonesty could kick in. But for this one with Miss Susan Murray, I'm going to put down that the inferior attitude was where I was dishonest. Now I'm going to go to the third line, self-seeking. What was about that resentment that made me self-seeking? In some ways, there's a lot of ways to get to self-seeking, looking at every situation as how it affects me and my needs. I mean, was her pool really about me? Did they get a pool to make me feel bad? No. Manipulating others to accomplish my ends or putting others down so I would look better. These are ways that self-seeking gets us to do stuff. A superior attitude or action, or controlling behavior, or plotting revenge when you didn't get your way. These are all parts of the self-seeking. For me, I'm going to say holding a resentment, because I held the resentment. She didn't even know why I didn't like her all of a sudden, but it was because I was envious. Some of us pretend to be something that we're not to impress people. Some of us pretend to be something that we're not to try and fill some inner emptiness. These are all part of our self-seeking manipulations. I hope you can see them. And then F, frightened. What was I frightened of? Was I frightened of other people's opinion? Or people's opinions about things I didn't even understand? Was I afraid of rejection, loneliness, abandonment? Was I afraid of physical injury or abuse, or emotional injury or abuse? Sometimes these things will show up. We can be afraid of criticism or loss of approval. We can be afraid to speak our thoughts and our emotions out loud. We can feel trapped, and that can make us fearful. Or we can feel that if we did something, we'd be embarrassed, and that would be exposing a vulnerable side of us we didn't want to. But in my case with Susan's pool, I think that I felt my family might be inadequate. And I kind of put it on other people. I didn't just read this injury to myself. I put it on my family. And that increased the social instinct part of this resentment. Now here I am at 7 years old, and I've already got a fully blown compulsive addictive behavior going on. Do you see how early it can start, guys? I picked that one because I know that some of us have some heavier things later in life. I don't want you to get caught up in it. I want you to see that everybody, it starts very young for most of us. Some of us are manipulating by the time we're talking. Mine. Is that the first words you said? Quite possibly. The last little section of this is going to be the character defects. Inferiority and envy are the two that I wrote down on that list. Do you understand how you can follow through with the resentment straight across the page? Now, when you're looking at your fears, we want to know what unsettles you at a gut level so that you respond by one of these three. You flee, you fight, or you freeze. Fears can be gaping holes in our confidence, or they can be these quiet little voices in our subconscious. Either way, they're lying. Fears are lying to us, and we are believing them. So this part of the fourth step will allow you to uncover and examine fears. Many of them are clearly not true. As soon as you write it down, you'll be almost free of it, because you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I had to write that one down. But what we're trying to do is be realistic. Don't be dramatic about this part. The fear itself is just telling us how we view the world. If the fear is not significant, it might be made up or a theory you came up with. But we want to review the fears that have shaped us. When adding this portion to the fourth step of your composition book, I just do a simple format. In the first part, I just write, I'm fearful of, and I'll say it. And on the rest of that first page, I'll say, why do I have this fear? And then on the next one, I'll look for the things that I should watch for on that next page. So I still work right across the composition book, but I want to make notes to help me solidify my understanding of how these fears have affected my decisions, my relationships, and especially my trust in my higher power. Some of the fears you might not have ever, I'm going to blow through a few ideas that you might have not thought about. Are you afraid of aging or getting angry, or are you afraid of authority figures? Are you afraid of being deceived or being found out or being abandoned? Are you afraid of change or compliments or confrontation? How about death, denial, or disapproval? Are you afraid of embarrassment or employment issues? Are you afraid of failure or feelings or financial security? Are you afraid of flying? Are you afraid of fourth steps? I mean, those are all coming up, huh? Are you afraid of getting fat or getting thin? Or are you afraid of God? Are you afraid of going out and losing the time that you've earned clean from your compulsion? Are you afraid of homelessness, homosexuality, honesty, humiliation? Are you afraid of hurting yourself or hurting others? Are you afraid of incarceration or intimacy or the IRS? How about this one, letting go or living or loneliness? Are you afraid of love? Are you afraid of mediocrity or money? Are you afraid to need someone or that you're not good enough? Are you afraid that you're not liked or not perfect? Are you afraid of any people? And if so, name them. Are you afraid of the police? Are you afraid of political talk and poverty? Are you afraid of procrastination? Are you afraid of rape, rejection, relationships, resentments, responsibility? Are you afraid of saying no? Are you afraid of sex? Are you afraid of sponsorship? Are you afraid of success? Are you afraid of unemployment? Are you afraid of the unknown? Are you afraid of violence? Are you afraid of work? Do you get this? I just kind of ran through the alphabet saying different things that might spark something in you. But when you know that you have a fear, write it down. And then, why do I have this fear? If you have a fear of public speaking, for example, why do you think you have it? Is it that you feel like you don't look well? I'm not attractive enough to stand up and speak in front of people? Is it that you can't make sentences correctly? Does your mind get jumbled when you're in front of a crowd? Write it all down. And then on the third page, look for things. Do you have a false belief tied to that? Is there an instinct out of balance here? Is there a character defect that's blowing up your phone, so to speak, in your head? Write those things down, because and that one of the public speaking, maybe you have low self-esteem and you can do some healing in that area. Maybe you have false beliefs that you're ugly or that you're not smart. You can do some work there, because those are lies in your head. They're not real, and you have to let them go. The sex conduct is the last part. And if you've been victimized by rape, incest, or molestation, those issues are not included in this. This portion is for ascertaining your part. A victim of a sex crime has no part in the travesty. So please, let's start with that. You'll need to work out that broken history, and I recommend counseling, especially a counselor sensitive to the nature of that sort of injury. I do approve of EMDR and NET therapies. The CBT therapist can help you with that. I think you should look for someone professional, and you should move forward and heal that. Do not let your past hold you back today. So by reviewing our history, the rest of us are going to be looking at what happened in the sex that gave us bad feelings, shame, fear. Who did we hurt with our sex conduct? That's the first column that we're going to need to fill out. The person I harmed. And on your pages of your composition book, you can write that in that little margin. Person I harmed, all the way on the left. And strangely enough, we're going to get honest in the next column. Again, you can divide the page into columns by folding or by drawing a line. And once you have that second column next to the margin, I want you to put the initials S in the first line, and then go down a line, put D, and then go down a line and put I. And the getting honest stands for S is selfish. Where was I selfish? D is dishonest. Where was I dishonest? The I is inconsiderate. Where was I inconsiderate? And check to see if it applies on the third line. Check. Write that right on top of the column. Check to see if it applies. And in the first line, I want you to write J. On the second line, I want you to write S. And on the third line, write B. Did you arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for what did we do in this. These things are unjustifiably when it's just poor treatment of other people. So on the next part, you're going to ask, where was I at fault? That's on the right past the spiral, the first column on the next page. Where was I at fault? Were you speaking commitment but living single? Whatever that is, you're going to have to figure that out. And then the last column, what should I have done instead? I should have told this person I wasn't really looking for a relationship. This is a lot of writing, guys. And we have a composition book that we're going to want to keep in our trunk of our car or somewhere where nobody will find it when we're not using it. But the more you can get out, the more thorough you are on these three things: resentments, fears, and sex conduct, the better you are going to feel when you are done. This is your attempt to know yourself better. Remember, all of these are sparked by instinctive drives. In the animal kingdom, instincts abound. And sometimes we forget that we too are animals. Okay, some of you might be vegetables, or I'm kidding. But animals. So knowing your own instincts, understanding your own instincts, and recognizing when they're out of whack is going to help you so much in the future. And once you no longer have to use these instincts as weapons, but you get to use them as tools again, you are going to get closer to God and to your fellows. And as you understand these instincts even more, I promise you this: forgiveness will come more easily, because you will see what's driving other people to have mistreated you in your history. I hope you can do this writing. Listen to it slowly. Have the composition book ahead in front of you next time and a pen so you can write just as we're talking about it. And let's get you started on the inventory of your life. It's time to take addiction out of the shadows and shine the encouraging light of recovery on everyone affected. Good Seed Podcast is powered by BethWE.com, a nonprofit ministry based in Vero Beach, Florida. We'll start the uncomfortable conversations that turn despair into hope and complacency into action. Connect, communicate, and thrive with us. Check us out online at BethWE.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk again soon.